the leaflet. Today we have with us Ms. Nikita Azad, who is a young activist and has been campaigning against menstrual taboos and is also an intervener in the recent Sabrimala temple entry case. Hi Nikita.
Hi, thank you for having me.
We are here to talk to Nikita and ask her about what motivated her to start this campaign, Happy to Bleed, which went viral online, and also understand why she intervened in this recent case. So Nikita, the first question that I have for you is, what inspired you to take on the cause of menstrual health awareness and the fight against the taboos associated with the purely physiological phenomenon of menstruation?
In 2015, this head of Devaswamy board who heads the temple, he issued a statement and he said that like there are scanners at airport that check if you're carrying a weapon or not. If such scanners can be developed, then we'll consider whether we'll let women enter the temple or not. Scanners that will check whether women are pure or not. So that was the statement that prompted me to take up the campaign. So I wrote an open letter to him saying that, I'm a woman of this age and I want to enter the temple, and A, you have no right to disallow me because it's a public place, it's funded by the state. B, menstruation is nothing impure or pure for that matter. It's just, as you said, it's a physiological, biological, normal process. So nobody should be discriminated against because they're menstruating. C, the entire argument that the god is a celibate and so on in the Ayyappa, the god in the temple, I said that even if he's a celibate, it doesn't mean that my touch or my going there will, affect him in any way, or the entire logic that, women will cast lustful eyes on men who are going there and so on and so forth. So I questioned it, saying that it is my right to pray, and you are not only infringing upon my right to pray, but also on my right to mobility, on my right to freedom, on my right to enter a public space. So that's how I started it. And later on, when the kind of response that received it was overwhelming, so I thought that let's make it an online campaign. So that is when we started Happy to Bleed. So I took out sanitary napkins, pasted them on my t-shirt and said that I am happy to bleed, and it's normal for women to menstruate or not menstruate for that matter, but certainly it's nothing because of which you should discriminate with them.
Your fight against menstrual taboos started with the Sabrimala temple issuing a notice about disallowing women and how they will have scanners to check if they're menstruating or not. And the fight that you took up online seemed to have gone viral. Did you process it on the offline forum, and did you take it up on the ground and try to generate a menstruation health awareness campaign as well?
Yeah, so initially it was online. So a lot of my friends and women activists and women around the country, and even from Bangladesh and Pakistan, a lot of South Asian women actually responded to the online campaign saying that they're also happy to bleed, and they narrated incidents of how the taboo doesn't only exist in temple, it goes beyond the temple, beyond religious institutions, and it's practiced in their homes also. For example, in Nepal, women are secluded and they're sent to these isolated huts where they have to sit outside during 5 days, and a woman died because of it recently.
And just by the way, the Nepal Supreme Court abolished this act in 2005, and they even issued a directive to their own Ministry of Women and Women Welfare saying that the practice, which is called Chaupati, the one that you're referring to, should not take place anymore.
So I think after the online campaign went on for a week or so, we thought that it's time to go on ground and collect some data, some figures, some evidence that what actually happens within households, how women are discriminated against, because of this, and also how does it impact their health, their choices, their mobility. So that is when we went on ground and we did a survey in Punjab, in Ludhiana, the slums, and some villages around Patiala. And then we came to Delhi and did some surveys in different slum settlements in Delhi, because basically it affects, the consequences of menstrual taboos are not only, restricted to temples. It affects the way women think about themselves, the way young girls perceive themselves. It, hampers their growth in the sense that it generates an inferiority complex in girls at a very young age, because you said that you are not pure, you're not worthy, you're not good enough. But men of your age, boys of your age are good enough. They have a right to enter a temple. They have a right to feel confident. That's how the entire inferiority complex, the internalization of patriarchy begins at such a young age. So that is why we went to villages and we recorded women's responses and young girls' responses to it. And one of the most important findings, I think, was that over 88% women in India, even today, from our survey, they still use cloth, they still use ash, they use rags, that they don't even have access to sanitary napkins. Because you see, because of the taboos, nobody is ready to talk about menstrual health. Nobody has the confidence to come on the streets and say that it is a public health issue. It's not just a human rights issue, it's a public health issue. That's what we need to say, and that's what women and girls are not able to say because of the silence around the stigmatization of menstruation. So that's what happened on the ground.
Taking this interview towards what's happening currently and contemporary in the Supreme Court, where your lawyer, Ms. Jessing, has argued on the grounds of untouchability also, saying that when women are discriminated on the basis of menstruation, which is considered as an impurity, is it akin to being called an untouchable, a practice of when the practice of untouchability has been abolished in the Indian Constitution under Article 17? So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, definitely. Because you see, I'll give you an example. So in a lot of communities in Kerala where we did the survey, women are not allowed to touch their husbands while they're menstruating. See, girls are secluded and sent outside. There are men who want to go to Sabrimala, who want to worship. Women of the households, if they're menstruating or not, irrespective of it, they're not allowed to cook food for them. So they're sent to different households so that the men can practice what they say, the 41-day fast that they have to, the penance that they have to do. So during that time, women are considered impure and they cannot touch their partners. They cannot enter the house. They cannot touch the food. This example clearly states that it is a form of untouchability. And even more, the way it is practiced today, untouchability in itself is not just related to caste. It's a concept of purity and pollution. So in cases where women are considered impure, they cannot enter the temple, they can't touch the scriptures. That's what the Hindu texts also say, that women shouldn't be allowed to read, they shouldn't be allowed to practice religion, they shouldn't be allowed to enter temples, and so on and so forth. For example, Manusmriti, or even in the Rig Veda, it says that if you're menstruating, you should not do A, B, and C. So it's definitely untouchability.
Now, just to get a sense of what are the plans ahead,
I thought that now it's time for me to not only focus on activism, but also argue it theoretically and see how menstruation affects women's perceptions about themselves and how it affects their psychology. So that's what I'm going to be doing now. I've got the Rhodes Scholarship to study women's... Thank you. I'll be studying women's studies beginning this year at Oxford. And my topic for which I got the scholarship is menstruation and menstrual taboos and how they affect women's psychology.
That's brilliant. And wish you all the best. We all can work towards getting better awareness about menstrual health. Thank you for watching this interview. I am Nehmat and this is Nikita Azad.